20,000 men, the largest army the Crusader kingdom ever put in the field. By sundown, almost none of them are still alive, and they aren't beaten by a better army. They're beaten by thirst. For 2 miles they can see water, the Sea of Galilee, right there, close enough to taste. They will never reach it. Saladin has sealed off every spring on the plateau. Then he sets the dry grass alight and lets the smoke finish what the thirst started. This is the Horns of Hattin. And the real question isn't how they lost. It's why the most powerful Christian army in the East marched into a waterless trap, on purpose. July 1187. It starts with one reckless man, a warlord named Reynald, who robbed a caravan under a sworn truce and dared the most dangerous commander of the age to do something about it. His name was Saladin. Saladin didn't march on a castle. He set a trap. He sacked the town of Tiberias and left it burning, like bait. He knew the Crusaders would never let it fall. He knew they'd have to come for it. And to reach it, they'd have to cross 12 miles of open, waterless desert. One old soldier saw it instantly. Count Raymond begged the king, "Do not march. Let them come to us. Let the desert do our killing." The king listened to the wrong man. At dawn, they broke camp and walked straight into the oven. From the first mile, the arrows came. Light horsemen swarmed the column. Strike, vanish, strike again. Never close enough to fight, just close enough to bleed them. The sun climbed, the armor turned to iron skin, and there was no water, none. By midday, they had crawled barely 5 miles. And then they made the mistake that ended everything. They stopped. They pitched camp in a dry bowl of burning rock, with the enemy on every hill around them. That night was a nightmare. They were trapped on bare, burning rock. The one well within reach, the spring at Hattin, was dry, or already in Saladin's hands. 20,000 men, not a single drop. And Saladin would not let them rest. His army had them completely surrounded, a ring of fires in the dark, pulling tighter by the hour. All night the drums never stopped, the chanting never stopped. Every time a man's eyes closed, the noise dragged him back, and the arrows came in the dark. You couldn't see them coming. You could only hear them land. Across the valley, the camels were still arriving in Saladin's camp. 400 loads of fresh arrows, 70 loads of water, carried up from the Sea of Galilee. One army was being handed an ocean, the other was watching its horses die. And a knight without a horse is just a man in 100 pounds of steel, in the desert with nothing to drink. By the time the sun rose, the Crusaders could barely stand. And that is when Saladin lit the world on fire. His men set the dry grass and thorns ablaze all around them. The wind did the rest, rolling thick black smoke straight into the Crusader lines. Now they couldn't breathe either, choking, blind, begging for one drop. And behind the smoke, the arrows came again. They tried to push forward anyway, half blind, half mad with thirst. And then they saw it. Ahead, shining in the distance, blue water, the Sea of Galilee, and the army broke. The foot soldiers couldn't take it anymore. Thousands of them simply ran. They abandoned the knights, abandoned the line, and sprinted for the water like a stampede. It was exactly what Saladin was waiting for. They never reached it. The cavalry cut them off and drove them, like sheep, against the slope of a hill. Thousands of men crushed together, no line, no escape. The ones who weren't killed where they stood were roped together to be sold. The body of the Crusader army was gone before noon, and it was barely midday. If you're new here, this is the channel that takes you inside the exact hour that empires die, one battle at a time. Subscribe and stay with me, because what is left of this army is about to make its last stand. Only the knights were left now. The king gave the order. 200 of them, the finest in the Christian world, turned downhill and charged. A heavy charge is a one-shot weapon. You aim it, you release it, and everything rides on that first impact. But these horses had not drunk in 2 days. The thunder that should have shaken the ground was not there. The charge came slower, heavier, dying before it even landed. And Saladin's men had seen it coming. They did not brace. They opened. The ranks split apart like a curtain and let the charge roll straight through into nothing, empty air and dust. Then the curtain closed behind them. In a single heartbeat, the greatest knights alive were on the wrong side of the enemy army. The weapon had been fired, and it missed. Count Raymond, the old man who had warned them, gathered the last riders and threw himself at the gap. Saladin led him through. He watched Raymond gallop down a dry ravine and vanish toward the coast. 300 men escaped with him. They were the lucky ones. Everyone left behind was now trapped on a hilltop. No water, no infantry, no way down. On the western hill, they raised the king's tent, blood red, the last island of an entire kingdom. The survivors crawled to it and made their stand around the true cross, the holiest relic in the Christian world. Saladin's men came up the slope in waves. 3 times the knights threw them back. Men so dry they could barely lift a sword, and still they would not fall. Saladin's own son cheered, certain it was over, and his father snapped at him, "Look at the red tent. It is still standing." And then it fell. When the red tent came down, Saladin knew. The king was down. The army was finished. The last 150 knights collapsed where they stood, too exhausted to die fighting. They surrendered. There were so many prisoners. The Muslims ran out of rope to tie them. They took the king alive. They took Reynold, the man who started all of it. And Saladin executed him on the spot with his own hand. And they took the true cross, tied to a lance, upside down, carried away. The Christians would never get it back. So many Crusaders were sold into slavery that the market collapsed. The price of a human being crashed, until in those markets you really could buy an armored knight for 1 shoe. 3 months later, Jerusalem surrendered. The entire reason the Crusades existed, gone. In a single afternoon, because the most powerful army in the world forgot to bring water.